INS-Jyoti is the third of the four Komandarm Fedko-class replenishment oilers. She was modified for naval use and is now being operated by the Eastern Naval Command of the Indian Navy. Jyoti was the largest ship in the Navy until INS Vikramaditya was commissioned in November 2013. Its primary role is fleet replenishment and sustaining blue water operations. It was later fitted with close-in weapon systems for self-defense. It is a major force multiplier in sustaining the Navy's blue water operations. It can increase the range of a naval task force without tanker support from 7 days and 2,400 nautical miles to 50 days and 16,800 nautical miles. Design and description. General characteristics and propulsion. INS-Jyoti has a length of 178 meters overall, a beam of 25.3 meters and a draft of 11.35 meters. The ship displaces about 35,900 tons at full load. The complement is about 208, including 23 officers. The ship is powered by a steam turbine providing a power of 10,948 horsepower. This allows the ship to reach a maximum speed of 15 knots and an endurance of 12,000 nautical miles capacity, displacing 39,900 tons at full load. Jyoti is the second largest ship of the Navy, even larger than the 28,500 tons aircraft carrier INS Vikramaditya. The ship can carry 28,000 tons at full load, consisting of fuel, diesel, aviation fuels, oils, and water of different grades. The fresh water carried for use in steam turbines is of much higher grade than drinking water. Jyoti has 2 replenishment positions on each side, with the option of stern refueling, and can replenish 3 ships simultaneously. It can refuel at the rate of 300 tons per hour. It has a range of 12,000 nautical miles at the top speed of 15 knots. It has a double-skin hull, which prevents sea pollution in case of damage to any fuel tank, and carries eco-friendly equipment on board to prevent marine and environmental pollution. The space between the double hull is used for ballast tanks. The fuel and water levels in the cargo tanks are checked to maintain the ship's stability during loading and discharging of supplies. Armament. It was initially armed with light and medium machine guns. In 2000, self-defense capability was added by installing new close-in weapons like anti-aircraft and anti-missile guns and missiles. This was done to enhance the survivability of the ship during surface warfare operations on India's western seaboard. It also has a helicopter deck. Procurement and Service. INS-Jyoti was constructed by the Admiralty Shipyard of St. Petersburg, Russia. It was built to be a Project 15966M merchant tanker, but was modified and purchased by the Indian Navy, and was commissioned on July 20, 1996. Growth in the India-Philippines relations broadened ways for the cooperation between navies. 3 Indian naval ships, INS Delhi, INS Kanya, and INS-Jyoti visited the Philippines from 24 to 27 October 1998. On the 28th of March 1998, 4 civilian workmen were killed in a gas explosion on board Jyoti at the naval dockyard. INS-Jyoti and INS Mumbai were deployed to Southeast Asia and Southwest Pacific. The ships made port calls at Fremantle, Sydney, Wellington and Ho Chi Minh City. INS-Jyoti visited the Shanghai Naval Base in 2003 as part of a 3-vessel fleet for a 5-day official visit. The fleet was commanded by Flag Officer Rear Admiral R.P. Southern of India's Eastern Naval Command. It comprised a guided missile destroyer INS Ranjit, a guided missile corvette INS Kulish and Jyoti. The fleet held airborne and surface search and rescue exercises with China's East Sea Fleet, which were code-named Dolphin 0311. Before the joint exercise, the Chinese and Indian ships also conducted maritime communication and formation maneuvers. These were the first joint naval exercises between China and India. The fleet left Shanghai on November 14, 2003. In early 2007, a fleet of ships from the Navy's Eastern Command conducted a 2-month-long deployment in the Southeast and East Asia. The ships, guided missile destroyers INS Mysore, INS Rana and INS Ranjit, the guided missile corvette INS Kuthar and the fleet tanker INS Jyoti, were under the command of Flag Officer Commanding Eastern Fleet Rear Admiral R.K. Duan. From March 18 to May 23, the fleet made port calls at a number of ports, including Singapore, Yokosuka in Japan, Qingdao located on the southern coast of the Shandong Peninsula of China, Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, and Vladivostok in Russia. The fleet left Qingdao on April 16, 2007, and then conducted joint anti-terror exercises with the Russian Navy. During September 2007, the Navy deployed 3 ships, INS Delhi, INS Bees and INS Jyoti, on a 4-day goodwill mission to Oman, to strengthen maritime relations and develop maritime cooperation. The deployment was led by Rear Admiral Shekhar Sinha, Flag Officer Commanding of Western Naval Command. 2009 and 2009, Jyoti, along with INS Mumbai, INS Ranva and INS Kanya, took part in an international fleet review at Qingdao, conducted by the China's People's Liberation Army Navy on its 60th anniversary. 21 naval vessels from 14 nations and delegations from 29 countries took part in the review, which lasted from April 20 to 24. The fleet then proceeded to Okinawa in Japan, and took part in Malabar 2010 with the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet and the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. The other ships were US Blue Ridge guided missile destroyers US Fitzgerald and US Chafee, fast attack submarine US Seawolf of the U.S. Navy, and 2 guided missile destroyers including JDS Asayuki of the JMSDF, along with various P-3C and SH-60 aircraft. The exercise involved air defense, anti-submarine and surface warfare. By 2010, the ship had completed 13 years in the Navy, during which it had undertaken 2,504 underway replenishment runs and traveled 375,282 nautical miles. It had operated in the Indian Ocean, South China Sea, Red Sea, Persian Gulf and the Pacific Ocean, and has participated in numerous multinational exercises with the navies of United States of America, South Korea, Philippines, Japan and Singapore, etc. In April 2010, it took part in the 17th Singapore-Indian Maritime Bilateral exercise with the Singapore Navy. SIMBEX 2010 was held in the Andaman Sea in the Bay of Bengal. 5 platforms of the Indian Navy took part: INS Bati MALV, a fast attack craft, and INS Marish, a landing ship tank from the Andaman and Nicobar Command, destroyer INS Ranva, the tanker INS Jyoti, and a submarine from the Eastern Naval Command. Singapore Navy was represented by 2 ships, RSS Intrepid, a formidable class frigate, and RSS Victory, a Victory-class corvette. During the exercise, Jyoti simultaneously refueled INS Ranva and RSS Intrepid. The fleet later called at Port Blair and Visakhapatnam. In May 2010, the Navy's Eastern Fleet deployed INS Jyoti, along with guided missile destroyers INS Rana and INS Ranjit and missile corvette INS Kulish from Port Blair to Southeast Asia, where the fleet undertook passage exercises with the navies of Indonesia, Singapore and Australia. Jyoti was under the command of Captain A. Venugopal Nanometer and carried a complement of 19 officers and 170 sailors. The fleet sailed under the command of Flag Officer Commanding commanding Eastern Fleet Rear Admiral P.N. Murugesan and made port calls at Jakarta, Haiphong, Manila, Muara, Bangkok, Fremantle, Singapore and Port Kelang. At Port Kelang, the fleet conducted anti-piracy exercises with the Malaysian Navy from 20 to the 23rd of June, and left port on the 23rd of June, 2011. In early 2011, the ship was part of a fleet of warships from the Eastern Fleet which went on an operational deployment in Southeast Asia and Western Pacific. The flotilla was composed of INS Delhi, INS Ranvijay, INS Ranva, INS Jyoti and INS Kerch, and carried 1,400 naval personnel on board. They were commanded by Rear Admiral Harish Chandra Singh Bisht. The flotilla, along with an Indian Navy maritime reconnaissance aircraft, took part in a 5-day exercise SIMBEX 2011 with the Singapore Navy in the South China Sea. 4 naval ships, including a submarine of the Singapore Navy, were commanded by Rear Admiral Joseph Leong, Fleet Commander of the Republic of Singapore Navy. The Indian Fleet then proceeded on its forward deployment, and made port calls at Alava Pier in Subic Bay, Vladivostok, Manila, Ho Chi Minh City, Bandar Seri Begawan, Kota Kinabalu and Jakarta. The ships also visited China, Japan and South Korea. After exercising with the U.S. Navy, the fleet conducted drills at Vladivostok with the Russian Navy's Pacific Fleet. This was the second time the Indian Navy had made a port call at Vladivostok. From 2 to 10 April, the ship, as part of the flotilla, took part in the Malabar 2011 exercise with the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet. In May 2011, Jyoti and Ranva, led by Captain Sunil Balakrishnan, were deployed to Brunei and docked at Muara Port. The purpose of the visit was to build on cultural and diplomatic relations between the two countries.